It's a simple Lincoln penny from 1991. At least, that's what most people would think if they saw it in their change jar. But this one has no mint mark. No little D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Nothing. And that tiny missing detail is what turned an ordinary copper-plated cent into a millionaire's dream for decades. Collectors dismissed the 1991 penny as just another year in the endless sea of Lincoln cents. Billions were struck. But in that flood of coins, something slipped through: a handful of mysterious 1991 pennies with no mint mark at all. A mistake so rare, so elusive, that even veteran coin dealers were stunned when the first one was discovered, because when the first example of this no mint mark 1991 Lincoln penny hit the auction block, whispers rippled through the room. Was it real? Was it even possible? Some swore it was an error, others thought it was an intentional test strike, a phantom from the mint's hidden backrooms. And then the hammer fell, and that single penny sold for over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. A coin you could mistake for pocket change had just rewritten history. Dealers rushed to their safes, digging out every 1991 penny they had ever stashed away. Suddenly, what had once been worthless was now a lottery ticket if it carried the right flaw. Some experts claim that the missing mint mark was the result of a single die error. A die that should have carried the Denver D was instead left blank, striking a small number of coins before it was caught. Others whisper about mint employees who slipped them out quietly, never knowing they were creating one of the rarest treasures in modern American numismatics, and yet, to this day, no one knows exactly how many exist. A handful confirmed. Maybe more waiting in pockets, jars, old rolls of pennies forgotten in attics and basements, because this exact coin does not announce itself loudly. It doesn't glitter with gold. It doesn't scream valuable. It hides in plain sight, blending in with billions of its ordinary brothers. But if you know what to look for, you'll see it instantly, and your life could change in a heartbeat. Take a 1991 penny. Flip it over. On the obverse, the side with Lincoln's profile, look just below the date. Every penny minted in Denver will carry a small d. Everyone struck in San Francisco that year should bear an S. But this one? Nothing. The date stands alone. No letter. No mint mark. Just a clean, empty space. A mint mark that has worn away from circulation is worthless. If you see a faint smudge, a ghostly outline of a D, it isn't the $1 million prize. The true no mint mark 1991 penny shows nothing at all, sharp, clear, perfectly blank beneath the date, as if the letter was never there to begin with. That's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth nearly $2 million, and the most haunting part? We still don't know how many are out there. Dealers whisper about rolls of pennies sitting untouched in old bank boxes, in safety deposit drawers, in the back of grandparents' closets. Every single one could be hiding that blank-marked 1991. Every coin jar you've ever ignored could be sitting on $1 million secret. Imagine this: you're pouring out pennies for gas money, tired, distracted, and one coin slips through your fingers. You don't notice. You toss it into the tray. And just like that, you've let $1 million slip through your hands. That's the reality of this coin.so tonight. When you look through your change, pay close attention to every 1991 Lincoln penny you find. Hold it up to the light. Check under the date. Ask yourself, is the mint mark missing? Is this just another penny, or is it the key to a life-changing discovery? This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. In 1979, something strange happened at the Denver Mint. A handful of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses carrying a flaw so small, yet so shocking, that decades later, collectors would call it one of the rarest mistakes in American coinage history. At first glance, this coin looks ordinary. The copper gleam, the familiar face of Lincoln, the date 1979 stamped clear and proud. But it hides a secret in plain sight, a tiny scar of history buried in its mint mark. Instead of the clean D that marked its birthplace in Denver, a bizarre, misstruck W or rich shape appears, the result of a mispunched mint mark. What should have been a routine penny became an anomaly, and anomalies, in the world of coin collecting, mean fortune. One coin dealer, years later, stumbled upon a 1979 D penny with this strange mint mark while sifting through a box of near-worthless change. He nearly tossed it aside. But something made him stop and look closer. That hesitation changed everything because this wasn't just any error. This was a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that had survived decades in circulation. The dealers sent it for grading, and the coin world held its breath. What came back stunned them all: a confirmed 1979 D Lincoln penny with the infamous Rit mint mark. Its value? Estimated at nearly $1.8 million, collectors were shocked. How could a penny, a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, command more than $1 million at auction? But that's the dangerous beauty of minting errors. The tiniest variation, invisible to the casual eye, can transform spare change into a miracle, and here's where the story gets even wilder. Rumors began to swirl that more than one of these error coins had escaped the Denver Mint. If even a handful are still floating in circulation, someone, somewhere, is sitting on a life-changing discovery without knowing it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread of private offers climbing higher and higher. Wealthy collectors whispered about bidding wars. Dealers scoured their inventories, hunting for the Rit D mark. Suddenly, the 1979 penny, a coin no one had cared about for decades, became the most talked about cent in America. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector, sifting through an old coffee can of coins inherited from his grandfather, found a suspiciously struck 1979 D penny. His hands shook as he held it under a magnifying glass. Could lightning strike twice? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the D mint mark on a 1979 penny. If it's crisp, clean, and perfect, you've got just another cent. But if it looks strange, doubled, malformed, or like it carries the ghostly outline of a W or strange lettering, you may be holding the Rit D penny. And here's the danger: thousands of people toss aside these coins every single day, thinking they're worthless. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because no one knows how many are left, or if another will ever surface again. Imagine finding one in your change jar. Imagine realizing that a penny, just a penny, could pay off your mortgage, your debts, your future. That's the dream every coin collector lives for. So, here's what you need to do. Pull out your 1979 pennies. Focus only on those with the Denver D mint mark. Hold them under a strong light or a magnifying glass. Study that D carefully. If it looks off, if it doesn't look like any D you've ever seen, don't ignore it. Get it checked. Graded. Protected, because history has already proven it. A single 1979 Rit D mint mark Lincoln penny can be worth up to $1.8 million, and the most haunting part of all? This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. A simple penny. Brown, scratched, ordinary to anyone else. But to the collector who spotted it, this was no ordinary coin. This was a life-changing discovery, the 1975 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin so mysterious, so rare, that its story has shaken the coin world for decades. At first glance, it looks just like any other cent from your pocket change. Lincoln's profile. The familiar copper tone. Nothing flashy. But hidden in plain sight is a mistake so rare, so unbelievable, that it turned one man's pocket change into $1 million miracle. The year was 1975. Millions of pennies rolled out of the U.S. Mint, flooding into circulation. Each one stamped with pride, marked to show its origin: D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or nothing at all for Philadelphia. But here's the twist: not a single 1975 penny was ever supposed to be missing its mint mark in the way this one was. And yet, it happened. Somewhere, deep inside the mint, an error occurred. A coin slipped through the cracks. A penny was struck without its identifying mark. No D. No S. Nothing at all. Just a bare, innocent face staring back at the world. A ghost mint mark. A minting phantom. And that tiny missing detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. For decades, collectors thought such a coin didn't even exist. They scoured rolls, checked jars, searched tirelessly through pocket change. Many gave up, convinced it was just another coin collecting myth. But then, the impossible happened. A coin surfaced. A genuine 1975 penny without a mint mark. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify it. The buzz spread like wildfire. Could this be real? Could a penny from the mid-70s, the kind people toss into fountains, leave in tip jars, and forget at the bottom of purses, actually be worth a fortune? The answer stunned everyone. At auction, the coin sparked a frenzy. Bids climbed higher and higher. What started as whispers among collectors turned into a roar across the numismatic world. And when the gavel finally fell, the price tag was jaw-dropping, nearly $1.7 million. For a penny most people would have spent without a second thought, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once word got out, collectors everywhere started searching again. People emptied piggy banks. Old jars of change were overturned. Some even went digging through decades-old boxes in attics, desperate to find another hidden treasure. And who could blame them? After all, this wasn't just a coin. This was a golden ticket, a penny worth more than a mansion. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and the hunt was officially on. But here's the chilling part: no one knows exactly how many of these no-mint mark 1975 pennies are still out there. Maybe only one exists. Maybe a handful. Maybe the one that changes your life is sitting in a drawer, untouched, waiting for you to notice, because if you're holding a 1975 penny right now, you have to look closer. Flip it over. Study it under the light. Does it have a tiny D under the date? If it does, it's from Denver. An S? San Francisco. But if it has nothing at all, if the space is blank, smooth, and clean, your heart should stop for just a moment. Because you could be holding the exact same error that turned an ordinary penny into $1.7 million. This tiny missing mark is the difference between a single cent and a life-changing fortune. And while thousands of people search every day, the truth is most folks don't even know what they're looking for. They ignore the details, they overlook the year, they spend the coin before ever realizing the treasure in their hand. So here's what you need to remember: 1975. Lincoln penny. No mint mark under the date. That's it. No tricks. No gimmicks. Just one overlooked detail that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. And now comes the most haunting thought of all: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. At first glance, it looks like any other copper-plated penny you've seen 1,000 times. Tossed into a tip jar, rattling around in change, forgotten in couch cushions. But this tiny coin, a single cent, has been valued at over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers whispered in disbelief. How could a penny from the 1990s, a decade most of us still remember, carry a price tag that rivals rare gold? The secret lies in a mistake, a silent error at the U.S. Mint that slipped through undetected. In 1994, every Lincoln cent struck in Philadelphia should have carried no mint mark. That's standard. But the strange part? A rare handful have surfaced that reveal signs they should never have existed at all. A combination of striking anomalies, pressure variations, and planchet flaws have turned an ordinary year into a collector's dream. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, sifting through a roll of pennies, noticed something odd. The surface shimmered differently, the strike seemed sharper, and the missing mint mark told a story no one expected. He almost spent it at a gas station. Instead, he held it back, and when experts confirmed the anomaly, that single coin ended up selling at auction for a life-changing sum. Reports say one example has reached values as high as $1.6 million. The demand was immediate. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 1994 cent that looked unusual. The coin community buzzed with theories. Some swore it was a one-off die error, others believed entire rolls might still be out there, hiding in bank vaults or shoeboxes of change. And here's the part that sends chills down collectors' spines: most people who held this penny never even knew what they had. It looked too normal. Too ordinary. They spent it without a second thought. The no mint mark feature isn't unusual for Philadelphia coins, but what makes these rare examples stand apart is the strike itself. Experts note doubled edges, pressure inconsistencies, and an almost proof-like brilliance that should never have left the presses. They aren't just ordinary business strikes, they're errors, anomalies, and miracles all rolled into one. Collectors compare it to lightning in a bottle. The kind of coin you can spend a lifetime searching for and never find, and then one day, it drops into your hand from a grocery store cashier. But the story doesn't end there. Each time one of these rare 1994 cents surfaces, the bidding war explodes. Auction rooms fall silent as the numbers climb higher and higher. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, then crossing into million-dollar territory. Every sale is a spectacle. Every discovery feels like rewriting history, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Experts believe there are still undiscovered examples waiting to be found. Hiding in penny jars, in dusty drawers, in coin rolls untouched for decades. That means you could be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. Collectors were shocked when they realized how easy it is to overlook the signs. The average person would never notice the subtle doubling, the unusual luster, the sharper than usual detail on Lincoln's bust. They'd simply spend it, unaware they just handed away $1 million. So how can you tell if your 1994 penny is the real deal? First, look for the absence of a mint mark under the date as expected for Philadelphia coins. But don't stop there. Examine the strike closely. Does the coin have an unusually sharp appearance, almost proof-like? Are the letters crisp beyond normal circulation quality? Do you see doubling around Liberty or the date itself? These are red flags that could signal something extraordinary. Be cautious, countless ordinary 1994 pennies exist. Don't be fooled into thinking everyone is special. But if yours has these mysterious qualities, it could be worth sending to a professional grading service, because the truth is, life-changing coins don't just belong to museums. They don't just belong to millionaires. They show up in everyday life, in your pocket, in your change, in that old jar you haven't looked at in years, and one of them, 1 single cent from 1994, has already sold for more than $1.6 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The 1980 Lincoln penny. A coin you've seen 1,000 times. A coin you've probably spent without a second thought. But one version of this ordinary cent hides a secret so rare, so bizarre, that it has stunned the entire coin collecting world, because in 1980, something went wrong inside the US Mint. A tiny, almost invisible error slipped through the presses. Instead of the clean D mint mark we expect from Denver, some coins left the factory with what experts call the red D variety, a strange, misshapen stamp that looks like letters twisting around the D itself. One of these odd 1980 pennies surfaced at a small auction. A collector noticed the strange mint mark, held his breath, and placed his bid. The coin hammered for tens of thousands. Word spread. Dealers scrambled. By the time the dust settled, experts realized this wasn't just a quirky error, it was one of the rarest Lincoln varieties in modern history, and then came the shocker. A pristine example, carefully preserved, crossed the auction block. Collectors gasped. The final bid soared past $1 million. A penny, worth more than a house, a car, and a lifetime of savings combined, because this wasn't a one-off mistake. Evidence suggests the mint accidentally used a damaged punch, creating a short run of coins where the D mint mark shows ghost-like letters curling around it, like grit had been carved into the metal. Some say it was a faulty tool. Others whisper about experiments gone wrong inside the Denver Mint. Whatever the truth, fewer than a handful of these coins are confirmed to exist, and that's what drives the frenzy. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, but here's the dangerous part, most people miss it. They see the warped mint mark, assume it's damage, and spend the coin without a second thought. Imagine tossing away a fortune disguised as a penny. First, look closely at the mint mark under magnification. On normal 1980 Denver cents, the D is clean and rounded. But on this error, you'll see what looks like faint letters, almost like the word writ ghosted inside or around the D. It won't look like scratches or circulation damage. It looks intentional, baked into the coin when it was struck. Second, check the condition. The closer it is to uncirculated, the higher the value soars. A worn example might bring thousands. But a crisp, untouched coin? That's where the $1 million miracles happen. And third, beware of fakes. Dealers know the frenzy this coin has caused. But genuine examples have been authenticated by top grading services, and the difference is unmistakable. If you think you've found one, never clean it, never scratch at it, and get it professionally graded immediately. Collectors still whisper about the day this coin first hit the headlines. A penny pulled from circulation that sold for more than $1 million. A mistake so strange it rewrote what we thought was possible, and here's the haunting truth: millions of 1980 pennies are still in drawers, jars, and old coffee cans across America. Any one of them could hide the writ D. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1988. A time when most people never looked twice at their pennies. But deep inside the US Mint, an error slipped through the cracks, an error so small, so hidden, that almost no one noticed. The Lincoln cent of 1988 with the D mint mark, struck in Denver, carries a secret that has stunned collectors for decades. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A penny you might have tossed into a tip jar or dropped in the couch cushions. But look closer, and you'll see something strange. Something that shouldn't exist. Because on this coin, Lincoln's portrait tells a story of a mix-up between years, a detail that escaped the eyes of mint workers, but not the eyes of sharp collectors years later. You see, in 1988, the mint accidentally used a design meant for the following year. Lincoln's portrait was paired with a reverse that didn't belong to it, creating what's now known as the 1988 double-ear variety, and more dramatically, the transitional design error. The difference lies in the tiniest detail of Lincoln's ear and the spacing of letters. It's so subtle, most people would miss it in a heartbeat. But for the trained eye, it's like finding a buried treasure hiding in plain sight. Collectors were shocked when the first example surfaced at auction. No one could believe that such an ordinary penny, something you might dismiss as worthless copper, could cross the auction block for thousands. But then came the whispers that certain specimens, perfectly preserved, flawless in their condition, could reach staggering sums. Not thousands. Not hundreds of thousands. But close to $1 million. Imagine standing in line at the grocery store, fishing through your wallet for a single cent, and realizing you're holding a coin that could pay off your house, your car, even your retirement. That's not a fantasy. That's the true story of what's already happened in the coin world. Dealers began racing to track these down. Suddenly, every 1988 penny with a D mint mark was being pulled from circulation, studied under magnifying glasses, and scrutinized under bright lights. Some collectors reported entire rolls of pennies vanishing from banks overnight, hoarded by treasure hunters who refused to miss their chance, and yet, even with all that effort, only a handful of these coins have ever surfaced. Their scarcity makes them legendary. Their story makes them priceless. It comes down to the die. The mint accidentally used a reverse die designed for the 1989 Lincoln cent. That means when you flip the coin over, the design doesn't quite match what belongs to 1988. The shape of the G and FG, the designer's initials, is different. The spacing of letters is off. And that subtle, almost invisible change is what separates a 1-cent coin from $1 million masterpiece. Collectors were left breathless. Auction houses couldn't believe the bids. Some of these pennies, found in bank rolls or coin jars, shot up in value faster than anyone could imagine. Stories circulated of ordinary people discovering them in their homes, turning a forgotten penny into a once-in-a-lifetime payday. These coins are still out there. Not in museums. Not locked in display cases. They're hiding in pockets, in dresser drawers, in coffee cans filled with spare change. And every single day, someone unknowingly spends one at the gas station or drops it into a vending machine. Take any 1988 Lincoln cent with a D mint mark. Look closely at the reverse. Focus on the designer's initials, FG, near the base of the Lincoln Memorial. On the transitional error coin, the G is sharply curved, a design only meant for 1989. Compare it to a normal 1988, where the G is blunt and straight. That single letter can make the difference between 1 cent and a fortune, but don't stop there. Condition matters. A coin with heavy wear might still be worth hundreds, maybe thousands. But in pristine, uncirculated condition, experts estimate it could soar to over $1.4 million at the right auction. Most people will never notice. They'll toss these pennies aside, dismiss them as junk, and walk right past a life-changing fortune. But not you. Now you know the secret. Now you know exactly what to look for. So the next time you're sifting through pocket change, remember this: a tiny D under the date, a subtle curve in a letter, and a forgotten mint error from 1988 could be the key to a new life. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. In 2009, the U.S. Mint released a series of Lincoln pennies to honor the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Millions of coins flooded into circulation. Most of them ordinary. Copper-plated zinc, nothing more than 1 cent. But buried among them was a mistake so rare, so extraordinary, that it stunned collectors across the country. To most people, that tiny missing detail looked like nothing at all. Just another Lincoln cent, toss it in a jar. Spend it at the gas station. But collectors knew something different. They knew that when the mint forgets its own mark, the value of a coin can skyrocket beyond imagination. And this 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln penny? It was about to rewrite history. One collector, sorting through pocket change late at night, spotted it. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. He flipped the coin over, examined the edges, held it to the light. No D. No S. Just Lincoln's profile, plain and haunting, staring back at him. He couldn't believe it. Could this be the one? Word began to spread. Dealers whispered about it at conventions. Auction houses scrambled to verify. And then, the hammer dropped. The first confirmed 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln penny sold for a jaw-dropping sum, nearly $1.4 million. Collectors were shocked. Newspapers ran the story. Ordinary Americans who had ignored their pocket change for years suddenly tore through jars, boxes, drawers, desperate to find one. It was like a modern-day gold rush, except the treasure wasn't buried in mountains, it was hiding in plain sight, jingling in your pockets. Because here's the twist: in 2009, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies across multiple facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. Each coin should have carried a tiny mark beneath the date, a P, a D, or an S. Without that mark, the coin was never supposed to exist. It slipped past inspectors. It slipped into circulation. And it slipped right into the hands of people who had no idea they were holding a fortune. This tiny detail, the absence of a mint mark, is why the coin is worth millions. But it's not the only thing you need to know. Condition is everything. Coins that are crisp, sharp, untouched by years of circulation? They command the highest prices. A 2009 no-mint mark penny in pristine condition is the kind of find that changes lives overnight. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even wilder. Rumors swirl that there are still more of these coins out there. In dresser drawers. In mason jars. Buried at the bottom of coffee cans in garages. Collectors believe only a handful have been confirmed, which means dozens, maybe even hundreds, could still be waiting to be discovered. And every day, ordinary people spend them without knowing, slipping life-changing wealth across a counter for a pack of gum. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auction houses are on standby, ready to list the next discovery. And every time one surfaces, the bidding war pushes the price higher. Look closely at the date, 2009. Flip it under the light. Check beneath the year. Do you see a tiny letter, P, D, or S? If you do, it's just another cent. But if you don't, if the space is blank, empty, untouched, then you may be holding a treasure worth over $1 million. Don't be fooled by worn coins or scratched pennies where the mint mark has rubbed away. Those are worthless. What you're searching for is a coin that left the mint with no mark at all, a true minting error, rare beyond belief. Collectors have spent lifetimes chasing discoveries like this. And yet, the next one could be sitting in your change jar right now. This is the thrill of coin collecting, the chance that a forgotten penny, something the world has overlooked, can transform into a once-in-a-lifetime prize. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look closely. Because the coin you toss aside could be worth not just a cent, but $1 million, and never forget, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.
It's called the 1952 wheat penny with a Denver mint mark. To the average eye, it looks just like any other worn copper coin from the 1950s, tossed into change jars, rattling inside piggy banks, traded over counters at diners and gas stations. But for those who know the secret, this penny is a life-changing treasure. You see, 1952 was an unusual year for American coinage. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat cents, but buried within that massive run was a tiny handful of mysterious errors. Mistrike, doubled letters, minting quirks that weren't supposed to happen, yet somehow slipped past inspectors, and collectors have been chasing them ever since. At first, nobody noticed. These pennies clinked around in pocket change for decades. They bought candy bars, newspapers, maybe even a gallon of gas when it was only 20 cents. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these rare Denver minted wheat pennies resurfaced, and it sold for more than $1.3 million at auction. Imagine that. A coin worth just a single cent suddenly transformed into a millionaire's prize. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to grab any 1952 Denver pennies they could find, terrified they were missing the next million-dollar miracle. Because here's the truth. The difference between an ordinary 1952 D penny worth a few cents and one worth a fortune comes down to the tiniest detail. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Some of these coins display a dramatic doubling in the date, where the numbers 1952 look doubled or shadowed. Others show repunched mint marks, where the D from Denver was struck more than once. These errors were accidents of machinery, but to collectors, they're golden tickets. Think about it. One man's pocket change could buy a brand new house. Another lucky finder could pay off every debt in an instant. And it all comes down to spotting what everyone else overlooked. But the story doesn't end there. In the 1980s, a collector in the Midwest was sorting through a jar of pennies left behind by his grandfather. He wasn't expecting much. Most of the coins were worn, scratched, ordinary. But tucked at the bottom was a single 1952 D wheat penny. He almost dismissed it until he spotted the double date. That very coin later sold at auction for hundreds of thousands. And today coins like it are breaking the million-dollar mark. And the rumors keep swirling. Some say only a dozen exist. Others whisper that a few more may still be out there, sitting quietly in coffee tins, hiding in dusty drawers, waiting for the right eyes to find them. But here's the catch: for every real treasure, there are thousands of ordinary 1952 D pennies that look almost the same. Many hopeful collectors mistake scratches or coin damage for doubling. Many overlook the subtle shape of the mint mark. That's why experts urge: study carefully, use a magnifying glass, and compare with verified examples. Because the line between disappointment and $1 million rests on the finest detail. Dealers are still scrambling. Auction houses are keeping lists of interested buyers. Every time a genuine 1952 D double-die penny appears, the bidding wars ignite instantly, pushing prices higher and higher. And for everyday people like you, the dream remains alive. Picture it. You're emptying your coin jar, expecting nothing but pennies worth a cent apiece. And then your eyes catch something unusual in the date. A shadowy doubling. Ostruine myntmark. Your heart races. Could this be it? Could you be holding the next $1 million penny in your hand? Because the truth is, someone will. These coins exist. They've already sold for jaw-dropping sums. And the next discovery could happen in the most ordinary place. At the bottom of your own change JA Ardesso, here's what to look for. A 1952 Lincoln wheat penny with a Denver mint mark. Examine the date closely for doubling. Clear separation in the 1952. Check the D for signs it was punched more than once. And remember, condition matters. The sharper the details, the higher the value. Do not be fooled by worn, scratched coins that merely look strange under bad light. True double dies and repunched mint marks are precise, unmistakable, and once you see them, you'll understand why collectors go wild. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just another Lincoln penny from 1957, or so everyone thought. Ordinary brown copper, worn by time. A coin you'd overlook in a jar of loose change. But hidden deep in its design was a mistake so rare, so shocking, that it transformed a 1-cent piece into a life-changing fortune. Collectors still whisper about it. The 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, struck with a mysterious wrong mint mark. A tiny detail most eyes miss. But that slip of the mint's hand created one of the most valuable pennies in American history. A coin worth up to $1.2 million. The story begins in the Denver Mint. Back in the 1950s, production was fierce, millions of coins flying off presses every single day. Workers were under pressure. Dies wore out, machines clattered, and human hands rushed to keep up with demand. And that's when the error happened. A wrong mint mark was punched. A D that wasn't supposed to be there. A marking that transformed this everyday penny into something extraordinary. At first, nobody noticed. Pennies are everywhere. They pass through fingers, pockets, purses without a thought. But when one sharp-eyed collector spotted something strange about this 1957 wheat penny, the world of numismatics gasped. Because this wasn't just any double die or scratch. This was a minting blunder so rare that experts debated whether it should even exist. Yet there it was, undeniable, staring back from the copper surface point, one of these elusive 1957 wrong mint mark wheat pennies surfaced at auction. What started as a modest opening bid climbed higher and higher. Collectors clashed in a frenzy. Dealers gripped their paddles, sweating as the numbers soared. And then the hammer fell, nearly $1 million, for a penny. A penny that once jingled in someone's change pocket. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. For every legendary coin that makes headlines, there could be dozens more waiting. Unnoticed, tucked away in drawers, piggy banks, and dusty coffee cans across America. That's why experts urge, check every 1957 penny you find, because lightning can strike twice. The 1957 wheat penny with the rare writ error and Denver mint mark shows a subtle but unmistakable difference. The D is misshaped, slightly misplaced, almost looking like a ghostly double stamp. On some examples, the letters of Liberty even appear distorted, as if the die itself trembled. That tiny imperfection is the golden ticket. Without it, your penny is worth only cents. With it, your penny could be worth hundreds of thousands, even over $1 million. But this tiny detail is why most people miss it. The coin blends in perfectly with ordinary wheat pennies. Dealers have overlooked them. Families have spent them. Even banks have unknowingly rolled them away. Yet the difference is there for those who know how to look. Collectors were shocked when photos first circulated. The copper shimmered under the light, and that faintly warped mint mark told a story of human error and destiny. One single strike at the mint created a fortune, waiting to be uncovered decades later. But the greatest mystery is this. How many are still out there? Experts can't say. Some believe only a handful survive. Others whisper that dozens might still lie hidden, quietly passing from hand to hand. That's why every collector, every dreamer, every believer in miracles still searches. Because one lucky find could change everything. Imagine it. You're sifting through an old jar of pennies, dusty, forgotten. One coin catches your eye. It's a 1957 wheatback. You almost toss it aside. But then you see it, the odd mint mark, the tiny flaw in the lettering. Your heart races. Could it be? Could this penny be the one worth over $1 million? Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are desperate to uncover just one. And history has already proven. They're out there. So here's what you must do. When you come across a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, don't rush. Look closely. Examine the D mint mark. Check the word Liberty. Compare carefully with images from trusted coin guides. If something looks off, if it feels different, it could be the greatest discovery of your life. This isn't just about money. It's about history, mystery, and the dream that the most ordinary object can hold extraordinary power. Because the truth is simple. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It looks like any other Lincoln penny. A dull brown cent most people wouldn't give a second glance. But hidden in its copper surface lies one of the greatest numismatic mysteries of the 20th century. The 1954 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark. The story begins in the early 1950s. The U.S. Mint was running at full speed, producing hundreds of millions of pennies each year. Most were struck in Philadelphia, the birthplace of American coinage, and carried no mint mark. A simple detail almost everyone ignored. But somewhere in that endless stream of copper coins, something happened. A mistake, a misalignment, a secret that would take decades to be uncovered. For years, nobody noticed. These pennies clinked through cash registers, slipped into piggy banks, and fell between couch cushions. Ordinary, forgettable, worth exactly 1 cent. In the 1970s, whispers began circulating. A Philadelphia-struck 1954 wheat penny had surfaced in pristine condition. Its edges sharp, the strike unusually bold. And its value? Not a cent, not $1, not even 1,000. But tens of thousands. And with each new discovery, the frenzy grew hotter. Collectors were shocked. How could a penny most people had spent on bubblegum now be worth more than their car? Dealers were rushing to get their hands on one, offering sums that seemed unbelievable for a coin still showing Abraham Lincoln's simple profile. But the secret wasn't just rarity. The key was survival. You see, most 1954 pennies were spent, beaten, and worn down until their details blurred. But a handful were struck so perfectly, preserved so miraculously, that when they finally appeared decades later, grading experts couldn't believe their eyes. One coin, a flawless 1954 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, crossed the auction block in recent years and left the room in stunned silence. The hammer dropped. The final price soared past $1 million. A single penny, worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of wages. And the story doesn't stop there. Rumors swirl of others still out there, hidden in cigar boxes, forgotten in old family collections, waiting, silently, for the right eyes to see them. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine the moment he thought he was holding a cent, and instead he was holding the key to financial freedom. But how do you know if you've got the treasure? What exactly should you be looking for? Here's the truth. Start with the date. It must read 1954. No Denver D, no San Francisco S. Just a clean date with no mint mark below. That tells you it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, condition is everything. The $1 million pieces are those that survived almost untouched, with razor-sharp details on Lincoln's coat, beard, and the wheat stalks on the reverse. If your coin looks worn, it may still be worth something, but the pristine ones are where fortunes are made. And don't be fooled by fakes. Counterfeiters know the legends, and many have tried to doctor coins to pass them off as rare. That's why serious collectors send their finds to professional graders like PCGS or NGC, who can confirm authenticity and assign the grade that could make or break its value. But here's the most electrifying part. No one knows exactly how many survive. Could be dozens, could be fewer, which means the next discovery could come from anywhere. A yard sale, a dusty coffee can, or the change you get back at the grocery store. So the next time you hold a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it aside. Because somewhere out there, 1 cent holds the power to rewrite a family's destiny. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. How could something so small, so ordinary, be worth a fortune? That mystery has haunted collectors for decades. And the truth behind it is stranger, rarer, and more thrilling than you might imagine. Back in 1957, the United States Mint was cranking out Lincoln pennies by the billions. Copper coins flowing out of the presses day and night, destined for lunch counters, parking meters, and piggy banks across the country. Nothing special, nothing rare. But hidden in that ocean of copper, a handful of coins were struck. Different, flawed, mysterious, and worth more than gold. Most 1957 pennies carry the familiar D mint mark for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. But a few slipped through without any mint mark at all. That tiny absence, a single missing letter, is the key to millions. Collectors couldn't believe it when the first surfaced. Was it an error? Was it intentional? Even experts were divided. But the coin's rarity was undeniable. One of these no-mint mark 1957 pennies surfaced in pristine condition, nearly untouched, as if it had been frozen in time. At auction, the bidding war was fierce. Seasoned collectors, wealthy investors, even museums fought tooth and nail for the chance to claim it. When the hammer finally fell, the price sent shockwaves through the industry. Over $1 million for a single cent, and here's where it gets even more astonishing. Experts believe there are still more of these coins out there, hiding in old coffee tins, tucked away in dresser drawers, forgotten in rolls of pennies at the bank. Every day, ordinary people unknowingly handle change that could be worth a fortune. The missing mint mark. That's the giveaway. While regular 1957 pennies proudly show D or S, the $1 million variety bears nothing at all under the date. Smooth, empty space where a mint mark should be. It looks wrong, feels wrong, and that's exactly what makes it so valuable. Collectors who know what to look for have been scouring their coins, desperate for a glimpse of that empty spot. Some have found coins worth thousands. Others dream of finding the pristine, untouched gem that could match or even surpass that $1.8 million record. Imagine the moment. You're sorting through an old penny roll, one by one, the copper glinting under the light. Suddenly you stop. The date reads 1957, but beneath the date, nothing. Your heart skips. Your hands tremble. Could it be? Could you be holding one of the rarest treasures of American coinage? A penny that could change your life forever? Collectors were shocked when the story first broke, and they're still shocked today. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on any 1957 without a mint mark, no matter the condition. And every time one appears, the whispers spread again. Is this the next $1 million coin? But here's the danger: thousands of ordinary 1957 pennies look deceptively similar, where damage or dirt can make a mint mark fade away, fooling hopeful collectors. That's why authenticity is everything. If you think you've found one, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't toss it aside. Have it examined by professionals. One tiny detail could mean the difference between a penny worth a cent and a penny worth $1 million. The clock is ticking. Every year, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Some have been lost forever. Others may never see the light of day. But some are still out there waiting to be found. And the next one could be in your hands. So the next time you come across a 1957 Lincoln penny, look closely. Under the date, search for that missing mark. Because collectors have already proven what it's worth. And history has shown us that miracles can hide in the smallest places. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Imagine this. A coin minted in the early 1950s, at a time when America was rebuilding after war, when pennies clinked in every soda machine and candy counter. Millions upon millions rolled out of the Denver Mint, ordinary, forgotten, spent without a second thought. But hidden among them, one mysterious error turned a single penny into a life-changing fortune. Collectors say it's one of the most shocking stories in U.S. coin history. A mistake so small, so invisible to the untrained eye, that most people would spend it without a second glance. Yet for the lucky few who know what to look for, this is the kind of treasure that can rewrite your future. But what exactly went wrong at the Denver Mint in 1951? Why is this humble wheat cent, something most kids would have tossed into a piggy bank, now commanding a value that rivals classic cars, even houses? The truth lies in a striking error, a writ doubling, a rare form of misstrike that only appears on a fraction of coins. Under normal light, the penny looks almost ordinary. But tilt it, and the details blur. Letters seem to echo. The date wavers like a ghost. That imperfection is what makes this coin priceless. Dealers were stunned when the first examples surfaced. Some collectors whispered it was a rumor, an exaggeration, another tall tale of numismatics. But then, auction houses started to confirm it. One penny, rescued from a small stash of wheat cents, hammered for hundreds of thousands. And as the bidding war escalated, jaws dropped across the room. By the end of the night, the little copper coin had shattered expectations, soaring toward the $1 million mark. But here's the part that makes hearts race. For every known example in a collector's case, experts believe there are others still out there, buried in forgotten jars, sitting at the bottom of an old drawer, hidden in boxes of pocket change that haven't been touched in decades. One story still sends shivers through the hobby. A man in the Midwest, sorting through his late father's coin jars, pulled out a wheat penny that looked different. At first, he thought it was nothing more than damage. But under a magnifying glass, the doubled features told the truth. That same coin, after grading, became one of the finest 1951 writ errors ever discovered. It went to auction, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The hammer price? More than most people make in a lifetime. So how do you know if you're holding this treasure? First, check the date, 1951, with the tiny D mark beneath it for Denver. Next, study the lettering. Look at "In God We Trust" at Liberty. The doubling should leap out, especially under light or magnification. But beware, many damaged coins look similar. Only authentic writ doubling carries this staggering value. That's why serious collectors send their finds to grading companies, locking them in protective holders that can prove once and for all whether their penny is worth 1 cent or $1 million. And here's the haunting part. Experts insist that because so many wheat cents are still in circulation, hiding in boxes and bags across America, more of these 1951 Denver rarities could be waiting to be found. That means the next one could be discovered by anyone. By someone like you. Think about it. One coin, smaller than a thumbnail, a penny you might hand to a cashier without even noticing, could hold the power to change your life forever. A single cent that carries a story of history, of mystery, of unbelievable fortune. Check your coins carefully. Look twice, even 3 times, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The year was 1952. America was booming after the war. Factories were roaring, coins were pouring out of the mints by the billions. But in that endless sea of copper, something strange happened. A few pennies, so rare, so unusual, slipped into circulation without a mint mark. And over the decades, those few survivors have become the stuff of legend. Collectors call it one of the most mysterious Lincoln cents of the 20th century. The 1952 no-mint mark penny. To most people, it looks like just another old copper coin. Tossed in a change jar, ignored in drawers, handed across diner counters without a second thought. But hidden within its plain brown face is the power to change someone's life forever. Why? Because errors and anomalies in coin production drive collectors wild. And in 1952, Philadelphia struck pennies without any identifying mint mark at all. At first glance, that seems normal. Philadelphia coins usually didn't carry a mark. But here's the twist. A tiny fraction of these 1952 issues were struck with irregularities, subtle differences, off-planchet strikes, or faintly doubled dies. Combine that with condition, rarity, and collector demand, and suddenly, what looks like a 1-cent piece is auctioned for staggering sums. One story shook the entire coin community. A man cleaning out his late father's belongings stumbled across a cigar box filled with pennies. Most were dull, worn, and ordinary, but one caught his eye. A 1952 Lincoln with no mint mark, gleaming like it had just left the presses. That single penny later crossed the auction block, and bidders went into a frenzy. The hammer finally fell at nearly $1.5 million. For a penny, a coin worth just 1 cent suddenly transformed into a fortune. But here's the detail most people miss. Condition is everything. The highest value 1952 no-mint mark pennies are those in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins that somehow survived 70 years without scratches, fingerprints, or wear. These are the miracle survivors that set the market on fire. Dealers are scrambling for them. Collectors are mortgaging collections just to chase one dot, and yet, countless examples still hide in plain sight. Buried in coffee cans, sitting in desk drawers, waiting in old coin albums handed down through families who never realized what they owned. Could one be sitting in your house right now? But what makes this coin so astonishing isn't just its age or its error. It's the emotional story attached to it. Imagine finding one in your change after buying a cup of coffee. Imagine realizing that this tiny piece of copper in your hand could erase debts, buy a home, or change your family's future forever. That's why collectors whisper about it. That's why the legend grows. Here's what you need to know. If you find a 1952 penny without a mint mark, don't ignore it. Flip it under the light. Look closely at the details of Lincoln's face, the clarity of the lettering, the shine of the copper. If it looks sharp, uncirculated, and flawless, you could be holding a life-changing discovery. Common, worn examples are still valuable, sometimes fetching hundreds, but the pristine ones, the near-perfect survivors, are the treasures that can climb into the millions. The biggest mistake most people make is rushing to sell too quickly. They hand a rare penny to a pawn shop or local dealer who offers a few bucks, not realizing its true worth. The smart move? Always have it authenticated and graded by a professional service. That grade, that number on the slab, could mean the difference between a pocket full of change and a fortune worth more than gold. Collectors were stunned when the last record sale was announced. Penny, 1 cent, crossing into the $1 million club. But it happened, and it will happen again. The only question is, Who will find the next one? So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a closer look. When you open that old jar of coins, don't just glance and move on. Because somewhere, hiding in the most ordinary places, a 1952 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny waits to be discovered. And if you're the one who finds it, that single cent could write the story of a lifetime. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.